It's Mosey. Let's talk Cowboys. Welcome to the Moz Files, and today we're going to go over the Cowboys offseason. The NFL draft is coming up in less than a month. I believe it's like April 27th, something like that. So we're getting closer to the draft, and I want to take a look at what's been going on and potential players that we can draft in these different areas to improve the team. Now, I actually like the offseason that the Cowboys had. Some people might not agree. There's some people who saw things that they wanted changed, but you got to remember this isn't Madden. This is real life. You can only do so much with a team. Um, Starting with the new people that they brought in, Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. Those are two very good players. Very good players. A lot of people like to say Brandon Cooks might have lost a step, this, that, but you have to remember that Brandon Cooks was on the Texans. And let's be honest, if you ask a casual fan who is on the Texans, most of them will not have an answer. They might give you Laramie Tunsil. That's about it. Maybe Pierce. Pierce was a stud rookie running back. Petrie was a stud as well. That kid is going to be something. But that's about it. Most people don't know the Texans. The Texans don't have anything. So of course, when you got a cornerback and a safety looking at you, you might look a little different, but Brandon Cooks was still producing, and he goes from that to now a team where he's not even a number one receiver. You now got to look at CeeDee Lamb. You now have to look at Michael Gallup. You got to look at the backfield, Tony Pollard. So I believe that's a really good fit. And then same thing with Stephon Gilmore. Did he lose a step? Probably, yeah, he lost a step. But at the same time, I still believe in PFF he was like number 4 in coverages. He still had a really good season, and that's an improve. I had a lot of issues with Anthony Brown, I'm be honest. I think he actually started to do better before the injuries, but at the same time, if you're a Cowboy fan, there was a lot of times where you were rubbing on your head because of Anthony Brown. Stephon Gilmore gives us somebody across Trayvon Diggs. That's going to be something that I can't wait to see. So let's start with the quarterback position. We have Dak. We brought back Cooper Rush. That's really big because when Dak went down, Cooper Rush still did produce. A lot of people kind of overrated him. They was like, oh, he could be a starter, this, that. I was like, he was winning, throwing 200 yards. That's not really like anything that's setting the world on fire. But at the same time, Dak is a love him or hate him type thing right now. Half the fan base wants to see him gone. The other half is we're okay with Dak. I'm okay with Dak. What I will say, and I've been saying this for the longest, it's not necessarily Dak. It's the contract. The $40 million paid quarterbacks these days is too much. You have to cut the edges off of every position, and then that quarterback has to make up for it. And if that quarterback can't make up for it, then he just looks like a bad investment. And that's kind of like a Dak thing right now. I believe if he was getting paid $25 million instead, which I think his cap hit is it's dropped a lot. They redid his contract. I'm be honest with you, I don't really know what his cap hit is right now, but I think it is closer to the 20s. You get more help. And when you have more help, like if you think about it, and Amari Cooper, if you add Amari Cooper, you bring him back last year, our team has more weapons. And not everybody's just looking at CeeDee Lamb. In that 49ers game, when Tony Pollard went down, the Cowboys went down. That was it. It was like we didn't really have the weapons. So that's another reason I'm happy Brandon Cooks is coming to the team, and hopefully Michael Gallup gets better. That was his first year back from the injury. I'm hoping that he improves and kind of gets back closer to what he was before. So I don't see Dak going anywhere. The dead cap hit is too much. Now, what you can see is a later pickup on a quarterback. And an interesting one to me is Stetson Bennett. On a lot of prospect list, Stetson Bennett is still down at the bottom, as well as a Max Duggan, the TCU quarterback. But Stetson Bennett, he's older, but if you're getting him in those late rounds, then taking a risk on him, it's not too bad. And he has the pedigree, he has the experience. I would like to see him get invited to a camp. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm okay with drafting Stetson Bennett late. It just depends on how far he falls. But actually, I think that's a really good pickup, is to get Stetson Bennett late or get a Max Duggan late. I do know the Cowboys were looking into Max. Those are about the only people that I really like. Some people have talked about Hendon Hooker, but I believe in Hendon Hooker, you have to get him early, and I think our picks could go to something else. Running back, we have Tony Pollard, Malik Davis, Ronald Jones. I like the pickup of Ronald Jones because Tony Pollard, I don't know when he's going to be ready, and even when he is ready, how long is it going to take him to be Tony Pollard again? And will he be Tony Pollard again? You know, he could be on a reduced count, things like that. So you never know how that injury is going to heal. So I do like the pickup of Ronald Jones. Malik Davis showed a lot of flashes, but at the same time, he was showing flashes at the third running back spot. So usually the teams were getting beat down by Zeke and Tony Pollard, and then you'll see Malik Davis. So you got to wonder what he looks like in more of a featured role, and that I do question. So that's why the big talks are the Cowboys getting a running back early. So the perfect world situation is Bijan Robinson falling to the Cowboys because Bijan is a featured back. You can as a rookie. As a rookie, he's a featured back. He can run the ball. He's very elusive. He's strong. He's big. And the other thing is, he is a good receiver. So he gives you a little bit of everything that you need right now. You don't have to wait on him to develop. He has to learn the playbook, of course. He has to learn the playbook. He has to get familiar. But as far as him being a football player, he's ready now. So that's a perfect world. But then I'm not mad at Gibbs falling. Some people might say that we're in love with the 4.3 speed, but you know what? I mean, he's talented. He's good. I know some Bama people had issues with him, and they were like, "Oh, there's these moments though." But I believe at the NFL level that Gibbs is. I think he's going to be a stud. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I said, there might be some Bama fans who are going to look at me crazy, but I believe Gibbs can be that guy. I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but Devin Achane, I actually really do like his game. He's pretty good. You have Zach Evans. Reminder, Zach Evans was the number one ranked player in the nation. I don't want to say nation and I'm wrong, but he was the number one ranked running back, and I believe he was ranked number one in the state of Texas. And there was a lot of talk, but then he went through a lot of things. He had a lot of issues going on. A lot of people from that area say that it had more to do with his circle than anything, and he needs to get professionals around him. So hopefully he did take those steps to getting professionals around him. But I like Zach Evans' game. He's pretty solid. As a later pick, I would be okay with picking him up. Also, a really late pick, if even drafted, Muhammad Ibrahim. On a lot of lists, he's way down there, but let me remind you, that guy had some really solid games in college. So once again, it's a guy that if you're getting him late, I'm not mad at it. There's Chris Rodriguez. I like his game. He's pretty strong. But I would actually take a big chance on Deuce Vaughn. I'm kind of excited to see where he goes. He'll definitely be a day 3 pickup. I don't think anybody's going to reach up into day 2 and pick him up. But I really want to see where Deuce Vaughn goes, and I want to see if he gets an opportunity because I do like the way he plays. One running back who I don't really. There's another running back I do need to look up, but then there's also Roschon Johnson. I'm a fan of Roschon. Receiver, I love our receivers. Honestly, CD, he's a beast. You can throw him in top 10 talks. Top 10 receiver, put TD in that conversation. Brandon Cooks, he gives us speed. Deep ball threat, can play in the slot. He is a good route runner, so I'm happy with that. Michael Gallup, he struggled last year, but like I said, that was his first year back from injury. I want to see what he can do. Now, this is where I'm really excited for the Cowboys because I want to see one of these three receivers kind of get a little bit more of an opportunity. Simi, we were all extremely hype about him. He had the size, he had the athletic ability. I'm ready to see what happens when he gets an opportunity. Have they been developing him? We don't know. I'm hoping that he has been developing and he can come in and help us. But Kayvon Turpin, like, I think we need to find a way to get him the ball. The guy is electric. You put the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. So I'm hoping this offseason we started involving him a little bit, but I hope we kind of take it up a notch and get him going a little bit more. Because if the team has to worry about Kayvon Turpin, now that frees up these top three guys again. So that's just big. Jalen Tolbert, ooh, but he was a rookie last year. But ooh, that's all I can say. That was not what we were expecting as Cowboy fans. A lot of us were excited about the pick. I was excited about the pick, and yeah, that. But he's a rookie. He's young. We're gonna give him some time. But yeah, as far as drafting a receiver, there's not really. I think we have too much talent there. Drafting a receiver, I don't care about unless somebody falls and you're just like, what? How did that happen? Like if Jalen Hyatt's sitting there in the second round, you kind of scratch your head a little bit. There's other things I would like to get. There are other things I would like to get, but you kind of have to scratch your head on that. Another one, Parker Washington. I'm not hearing his name enough, and that bothers me because I'm like, where is Parker going to go? And if Parker starts to fall and fall and fall, and at some point you're like, okay, we're going to take him because then I'm going to put him above Simi. And I don't know what Jalen's going to do this offseason, but he might even go above Jalen. So now you're talking about a guy who cracks your top five. And then we're looking at Turpin and Parker Washington playing behind these three. But I like Parker Washington. I believe that I don't like quoting stats when I didn't necessarily check them to make sure, but I want to say that his catch percentage went up every year. I want to say that he got better, but he did have a struggling senior year, this past year. This past year was a struggle. The year before that was a better year. I remember I watched Penn State. I want to say I watched two Penn State games, and in both the games I saw, I didn't see Parker Washington. That's the only thing. He does disappear, but he has a lot of ability, and hopefully the NFL coaches can get something out of him. There's that. Other receivers, Xavier Hutchinson, he was super reliable for Iowa State. I remember watching them play, and if you knew anything about Iowa State, all you knew was Xavier Hutchinson, and the defense was looking at him. They were all spying him. We got six eyes on Hutchinson, and he's still out there making plays. So if he falls deep in the draft, then that's somebody that you can take a look at. I'm not mad at that pick. There's what's his name? Tank Dell from Houston. I would like to see where he gets drafted, and if he doesn't get drafted, I would hope that they would invite him to camp because he is in Houston, so he's close to the area. I mean, he might prefer to just go to the Texans, but hey, you never know. Tight ends. I mean, I'm actually like our tight ends. We lost Dalton Schultz, and I get it. Dalton Schultz, he was pretty good. He was reliable, but he was always hurt to me. Even in games, he would like get hurt, be out for a quarter, then pop back in. And you kind of never felt like he disappeared after the injuries, that makes sense though. Your body's hurt, you're not going to be the same. But Jake Ferguson, I'm ready to see him. Travis Kelce gave him a shout out and said that he sees himself in this kid. So, and there's a lot of people who believe in Jake Ferguson, so I'm ready to see him. Peyton Hendershot was a shocker. There was a lot of times where he made plays, and that was just really interesting because I didn't expect anything from this guy, but he made plays. Now, if you've been following me, you already know who I want. I want Zach Kuntz. I want that 6'8" tight end out of Old Dominion. I want to know where he falls, and that is who I want on this team. And honestly, I think So he was off last year, so he wouldn't be over these two. These two have had NFL experience. They know the playbook, everything. Zach has still got a heal, probably. We don't know what he's going to look like, and he's got to learn the playbook. But I believe that kid has a future. I am a big fan of him. However, I've heard some Dallas fans talk about Dalton Kincaid. A lot of them really like Dalton Kincaid and want to pick him up in the first round. I'm not that sold on Dalton Kincaid, honestly. Uh, I wouldn't be mad if that was our first round pick, but I wouldn't be like the most excited. I'm not running to Twitter and like, we got Dalton Kincaid. No, not that. I'd rather just wait till a later round and see where Darnell Washington is. I like Darnell Washington. I'm going to be honest with you. I am a fan of big tight ends. I like guys with like big bodies who know how to box out because they're your red zone guys, especially if they're athletic and do jump balls. And that's what you get with Darnell and Zach. You get big bodies that position very well, and they can jump ball. Um, and those are mainly the two guys that I kind of pay attention to. Um, with the tight end, I'm more of just worried about them. Linemen, this has been a big thing. I've heard a lot of people we want to draft. A lot of people really want to go for linemen because Tyron, he's old. Let's be honest. His career is kind of going. Tyler was a really good pickup. He had his issues. He had his holding issues. We already knew that was coming with him. That was him in college. But the fact that he still produced the way he did in the NFL, that was great. I'm going to be honest. I remember scouting him when he came out of USC, and but as far as the NFL, I haven't heard of anything that he's done. So yeah, I really can't speak anything about Chuma. Other than what you've probably heard from other insiders, Dane Brugler and all them talking about. So I'm not really going to go into details on him because personally, I don't have anything to say about him. Tyler, I want to say Tyler improved, but at the same time, there's still times where I'm looking and Tyler was getting bodied. I just gotta say it. Some people might hate to hear that, but I just gotta be honest. There was times where I was like, he just kind of got bodied to me. He still gets bullied. I don't like his strength, but who knows? I mean, we'll see what he looks like next year. We're not going to replace him. I know that much. Zach, he's getting up there in age. So people I would like to see, Jalen Duncan. I don't hear his name that often either. That was a person who I had predicted he would get a little bit more love. I don't think he's gotten the love that he deserves, so I'm thinking Jalen's falling in the draft. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. If he does go high, okay, my bad. But if Jalen Duncan falls in the draft, I'm perfectly fine with that. Kirkland, I want to see where Kirkland goes because he's not the most mobile, but I'm like, put him at that left guard spot. Let him battle because he's a big guy. He's a captain. He's smart. Let's see what he can do. The lineman, I'm gonna have to make a separate video on linemen because it's just a lot more people that you can go through talking about linemen. Next, we have our edge rushers. Demarcus Lawrence. We all know Demarcus Lawrence. I think he's a great player, but we already have the guy who's there to protect to replace him, and that's Sam Williams. Sam Williams is not ready yet. Sam Williams just makes a lot of dumb plays. I love the kid. He's fast. Oh, he's athletic. Like, that's crazy. Him and Micah Parsons, like, both of them are just athletes. Oh, even Jabril Cox is an athlete, but Sam Williams is a athlete. Ridiculous athlete. Like, he was already bullying people. But he then would just make a dumb play, grabbing face masks, late hits, and then the ref throws the flag and his hands go up. He's confused. Oh, what happened? You knew what happened. That's my only thing with him is he's got to get a little bit more mentally focused. But I do believe he is the future replacement for Demarcus Lawrence, and I'm okay with that because the kid can ball. The kid is good. Odigizua is an athlete. I mean, this defense is just crazy to me. I mean, it's not like Hall of Fame crazy. I'm not overrating it like that, but I just love what they can do with the defense. Odigizua, he's a quick guy. Um, yeah, he's just he's athletic in the middle. Neville Gallimore, same thing. I remember when he had his combine, everybody was talking about it. I knew he was strong, but he was explosive as well. So there's another guy who's athletic, but his thing is injuries. He's got to stay on the field. And then Bohanna, I like him as a rotational guy because he was pretty powerful. There's a few times that he's kind of was there. Um, so I'm excited about that. But also, I believe we're talking to Puna Ford, and it's just all about how the money works out and all that stuff. So that'd be another big guy we can have in the middle. And then we have Dorrance Armstrong. Everybody loved Dorrance last year. He came and he showed out. I remember watching him at Kansas State. He was a beast, and then he's a late pickup in the draft because they're like, what does he really have for the NFL? Nobody knows. And next thing we know, dude's going off. He had a great year last year. I hope he keeps moving forward with that because that makes our defense strong. I noticed every time they wanted to double Micah, there was Dorrance who was like, okay, so I'm getting a free shot, and he took advantage every single time. So with the edge rushers, if you've been following me, you know who I want. I hope Lucas Van Ness falls, and the reason why is because that kid is a beast. He is an athletic monster. He's explosive. Now that might be little bit confusing because some of you might look at his tape and he might not look as explosive as I kind of make him sound, but that's because he takes too much time. You know what? I'm gonna have to do a video and kind of point it out. But that's something that can be fixed. At the NFL level, he needs to work on it. His just hand fighting, getting off the block. I think he got a little bit too occupied trying to bully, trying to grapple, trying to wrestle the offensive lineman. He needs to just kind of move along, hit him with a mean punch and then try and get somewhere. And I feel like sometimes he got occupied. And then some people complain about his bend, but at the same time, I think he's more of a 3 technique. So I would move him to the inside, which would be crazy because then you'd have DeMarcus Lawrence, Odigizua, Lucas Van Ness, Dorrance Armstrong, and Micah Parsons all running at your quarterback. That's 5 athletic freaks running at your quarterback. Nolan Smith has been falling down the draft. He's an edge rusher. We don't necessarily need a Nolan Smith, but at the same time, he could give Micah some time, a little break. I felt like there was times where Michael was trying to do too much and it was forcing him to kind of get hurt. So we need to try and figure out a way to save Micah Parsons. Those late game situations, if we have a reliable backup to where we can pull him and save him some snaps, that'd be a nice thing. That's what Nolan can do. Isaiah Folksky, he's all over the place. I see him in the first round picks, second round picks, third round picks. People are all over the place with where they think that kid's going to go. I would like to see where he does go. If he's still sitting there and he's one of those guys who you're like, how's he sitting there? You got to pick him. Zach Harrison from Ohio State, he's further down on boards as well, and he's a long guy, 6'6", 272-pound guy. That's a guy, he can play the edge. That's somebody else who's kind of lower in those drafts, and I'm like, hey, you can take a chance on him. Brenton Cox, I like him as well. That's a guy who falls later in the draft. O'Shawn Mathis didn't really do much in Nebraska, I don't believe. I don't think I heard too much out of him. But if you remember at TCU, the dude was nice. He was nice. So you switch up the defense, you're learning a new system, you're going to fall off a little bit. And I don't think he's gotten much love due to that. So I would like to see O'Shawn Mathis as a late pick. I'm okay with that. KJ Henry from Clemson, he's a little lower on boards. I'm okay with that as a late pick. So that's another person you can look at. So those are some edge rushers that we can look at. And then defensive line, there's a lot of people at defensive line that I'm cool with. I've seen Kalijah Cansey as a possible first round draft pick. I do like Kalijah Cansey. You probably have seen me, I did a video on Kalijah Cansey talking about his explosiveness. He's very explosive. He's very flexible, has great bend, great hands. He's quick. He does it overall, man, that kid is good. If he's drafted first round, I am definitely okay with that. I don't think it's needed because our defensive line is solid enough to me. I would rather see that go to an offensive lineman, a running back, um, yeah, more of those areas. But at the same time, defensive tackle can't go wrong there because I am advocating for Lucas Van Ness, so I could do the same with Kalijah Cansey. He's an absolute stud. I'm telling you right now, whoever gets Kalijah Cansey, they are getting a weapon. Also, Mozzie Smith. I'm huge on Mozzie Smith. Would I draft him in the first round? No. If the Cowboys draft him in the second round, I am happy. Mozzie Smith is a powerhouse. That'll finally be our dog in the middle. I'm telling you right now, if the Cowboys draft Mozzie Smith, I'm posting on everything we won the draft. Linebacker, I kind of went over linebacker. Ridiculous athletes between these three right here. I do like that we got Van Der Esch back because that gives Clark more time to learn. But honestly, Clark could replace Van Der Esch if we had Jabril Cox, Damon Clark, and Micah Parsons. I believe all. So Cox was hurt and Clark was hurt, but I believe both of them are about 4.3, 4.4 speed. Post injury, 4.4 speed. Micah Parsons, 4.4 speed. So you got three linebackers, 4.4 speed, and they play like it. There was times we saw Clark last year running down people, chasing. We saw him making great plays, and we didn't even know he was going to be ready. We've all seen Micah Parsons. Jabril Cox, we just got to get him on the field and to stay on the field. So linebackers, I really haven't looked at too many linebackers. We're pretty solid. People are talking about possibly Drew Sanders. Shout out to Drew Sanders. Went to Ryan High School. Love my Denton schools. But Drew Sanders, they've talked about him going, but that's a first round draft pick. I don't think he's there in the second round. Henry Toa, I'm like, okay, maybe in the second round. I don't really care for it. The only one I really like is DeMarvion Overshown. And maybe I'm biased because I'm a Texas person, but if he's available in those later rounds, I would draft him. He needs to add weight, yes, but he's an athlete and he can develop, and we have the linebacker group that would allow him to sit back and develop, to learn and develop, especially with us re-signing LVE. If we didn't re-sign LVE, then okay, we'd be talking about something different. Cornerbacks. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even look at cornerbacks that we need to draft because for the first time I can say this in a long time, our cornerbacks are nice. And the reason why Jordan Lewis is coming back, I love Jordan Lewis. He's a dog. He's going to get after it. He's going to hit. He's going to do what he needs to do. He does what he has to do, and that's why we all like Jordan Lewis. But especially when he's not at that one or two position. We like him more in a nickel where he's not cut. He gets beat. Let's just be honest. But as right here, playing behind Gilmore, playing behind Diggs, he's a dog. So we got two stud cornerbacks, and then we have Lewis and Deron Bland. Amazing pickup. That kid is a nickel cornerback. So we have three cornerbacks who I am a true believer in. I'm like, they're studs. Deron Bland, would I put him on the outside? No. I don't think he's ready to play on the outside. I don't think he's an outside cornerback. But at that nickel spot, like he's that guy in Madden where, like, what's his overall at cornerback? 75. But then you look at his nickel cornerback, put in the 80s, put in the high 80s. That kid can play. So I am absolutely okay with the cornerbacks. I really don't even have a mention. Eli Rick, 6'2", 190. If he's there late, I'm cool with that. I do like Jalen Jones if he's there late. But, I mean, that's really about all I care about because, like I said, we have a ton of... we have a ton of guys. I don't really care too much about the cornerback position in the draft. I'm not really worried. The safeties, Jerron Curse, this was a huge re-signing. Donovan Wilson is that guy. And once again, that allows Hooker to come off the bench and I'm good with that. So we got that 3-man rotation right there of Curse, Wilson, Hooker. Perfectly fine. Once again, I didn't really care too much about the safeties because I like the safeties we have. But I mean, there's always that reminder that people do leave. Antonio Johnson, I don't think he'll be available. I would draft him. So any other team, I would say Antonio Johnson, if he goes in the second round, I'm happy with the pick. For the Cowboys, I really wouldn't do it unless it's like a third round pick. And that's just because we don't need him. We have other needs. So that's pretty much breaking down all the positions. And when it comes down to it, what I think we really need to focus, I would like a running back early because I don't know details on Pollard. We don't know details on Pollard, and of course they're going to give us good information, but you just never know. So I would like a running back. I would like another tight end. Like I said, Darnell Washington, Zach Kuntz, I would absolutely like them. Please draft Zach. Uh, I I would say this offseason is perfect if we get Zach. Like, I would be too happy with the Joneses, and I don't like the Joneses. I'll be real with y'all. Offensive line, we need to draft offensive line. Second, third round, maybe even first round. And I'm not saying all three of those picks, but I'm just saying 1, 2, and 3. I want a lineman in one of those with one of those picks because we need something. We do need something here. This defense, it's not too much that we need. I would like another D tackle, and especially if we can get a guy like Lucas Van Ness who can play all these positions on the line. He can play edge. He can play the 3 tech. He can't play. I don't see him playing the nose. That's kind of a waste of his talent. But he can play the edge. He can play the 3 tech. I'm happy with him in any of those positions. Those are my main focuses for the Cowboys. So that's about everything. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's some players who you think I'm missing out on that you would love for the Cowboys to draft. Just let me know. Like, share, comment, subscribe. This is Mosey the Must See. Y'all have a good day.